Yeah, hi. Is this Middlebrow?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Middlebrow podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Brian Park.
I'm Dan Ronson.
And if you're watching on YouTube, we are in another new location.
Yes.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Podcast.
Yeah, one day we'll find a way to not have to lug around our lighting equipment.
Yeah.
But that's not
A
today.
dream.
That's not today, baby.
We want to give a quick shout out to Hello Human, friend of the pod, Jenny Wen.
Jenny Wen, letting us use her space, her lovely new gallery on
With,
the Lower ES.
Filled with design objects.
Our guest remarked when he came in that it is surprising every time to come to a neighborhood downtown that's not been completely gentrified yet. And I don't know how they maintain that authenticity. I assume they just don't. The Chinese landlords don't rent to white people. I think that's what they just have colluded.
And if they do, you have to pass a vibe check. Oh, I see you're wearing your Eckhouse Lotta jeans. I will let you. I will let you lease the space.
Yeah, that's the rule.
Anyways, listeners, you know how to read. You know we have a guest this week. Very exciting one at that. Let's just bring him into the fold. Your guest this week, he is a Grammy-winning record producer, DJ, and now author. He wrote a new book called Night People. Listeners, give it up to Mark Ronson.
Hey,
Mark.
Hey, it's so nice to be here. I mean, as you know, like, I think, you just DM me.
Yeah.
And I was a fan of the videos. I mean, obviously I discovered you because you made a fairly complimentary video about my apartment, and you've also lovingly roasted some of my good friends, which I have to be careful not to like certain ones. Cause I'm oh God, if Diplo comes and sees and it's like, what that I've liked your critique of his house in Jamaica.
Diplo did comment on my roast of his house.
And he probably liked it because he's
a narcissist.
Wait, was it Diplo's Jamaica house?
Diplo's Jamaica, Bond bunker.
I don't think I don't know what the definition of narcissist gets really thrown around a lot. He's a wonderful guy, but I think he would really more than anyone appreciate the humor of like taking the piss like a little bit.
He seems genuinely fun and self-aware. Didn't he have a whole TV show where he had James Vanderbeek?
Yeah, what would Diplo do?
What would Diplo do?
Yeah.
Wait, what was this on? MTV?
No, I think some channel that probably doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Vice,
Spike. No,
Spike.
No, it wasn't. It was it still exists. It was it was MTV or USA or something, and it was kind of amazing. Yeah, James Vanderbeek, it was like they were obviously trying to do a Curb-ish type show for DJ culture.
Yeah.
And there was good writing. James Vanderbeek was really fucking funny. But I don't know. It didn't last.
Well, are you thinking about this now? Because there is a movie being made about your book. Are you involved in who gets to play you?
No. Okay. I think they'll like run it by me. But I think that now that it's Plan B who've optioned the script, they just make such great fucking films. I'm very happy to just leave it. They
made 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a similar...
Moonlight, F1. Yeah.
Just the Brad
probably
stuff.
Close to F1. Yeah.
It's going to be close. It's going to be the F1.
Nice. So high octane or moving black stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actor is going to be forced to learn how to speak in your one-of-one accent?
Who would you pitch, Dan?
Kaya Gerber.
Gerber.
Do
yeah, it doesn't have to be a dude. It doesn't have to be a dude.
Was that Bob Dylan movie where Kate Blanchett played Dylan?
I'm Not There.
Yeah.
I actually love that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Is that Todd Haynes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's going to be quote unquote Mark Ronson. You know what I mean? The protagonist of this film could be a DJ, could be whatever.
Humble King.
I mean, well,
this could be the project for this actor as the Oscar-winning biopic.
Or it could be a thing where it's 8 Mile where I actually just, as a 50-year-old man, play myself at 20.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they spend all the budget on CGI to make me look 20, which I actually looked 13 when I was 20. So
yeah, they'll Benjamin Button you.
Yeah.
The Irishman, wasn't it? Where Robert De Niro was 40 years younger, but he still moved like an 8-year-old man. So it was this uncanny valley.
Yeah. Benjamin Button was Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Mark Eidelstein could play Mark Ronson well.
I don't know who that is.
Because
he's Jewish, Brian?
No, I wasn't going there, but if you want to go there, sure. He was the boy in Honora, Russian Timothy Chalamet.
You can't talk. Huh? You can't talk English.
Well, that's the actor's job. They can AI it, a la Brutalist. They'll figure something out.
That's true. So the book is about your time DJing in the 90s,
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah. A lot of my friends from, there's a lot of reasons I kind of came to write the book in the 90s. A lot of my friends from that time were honestly like passing, and then there was COVID that suddenly, like, every DJ I knew suddenly had like a medical GoFundMe because everybody who worked in nightlife was just like, kind of just without any money. And I started to think about this time, and what else? I guess.
And they asked you for money, and you said, "I'm going to write a book about you."
Yeah, and then I don't know what it is. I didn't want to need to start on such a morose vibe, but I love Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. This is one of my favorite books. I love that, and that thing of writing about a slightly eccentric kind of career in New York City that could only happen at night, and the kind of energy around that. And I was thinking, like, there hasn't been a book about, I'm sure a lot of big DJs have written biographies. I don't know them. I haven't read them, but like about being a gigging DJ, like not a superstar, not being on stages. Like everyone seems to think that the DJ is either like a wedding DJ or Calvin Harris, and there's nothing in between, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but that thing when you're coming up, and the 90s was this amazing time in New York, and every fucking Gen Z kid coming up to me like, "You were in New York in the 90s, dude." Like, I started to be like, oh, maybe this was a time worth writing about.
Well, it seems also there is like a renewed, like the Keith McNally book came out. There's like Condé Nast books, like all about the 90s, that period of like almost was like what Chuck Klosterman says, it was like the last decade,
right?
Where it was the last decade of culture that feels like particularly defined.
Yeah.
And now as we're sort of lost in like nostalgia and endless like remix, and we don't even know what is popular or not. I feel like I don't have a sense of what the culture even is. Like there is a renewed interest, I think, in looking back to like the last time where like, oh, this movie looks like it's in the 90s. This song, like you listen to hip hop from the 90s, and you're like, I don't know, you can't even place it, but you know this is exactly from that place in time. It didn't exist, it didn't have before, and it was defined then.
Yeah, and also now even hearing you thinking about it out loud, like the 2000s and the 2010s was always going to be fucking doomed because it's so lame to say the aughts or the 10s. Like nothing starts till the 20s because you can't, just everything else sucks to say it.
Yeah.
So the 90s
so we all
had
knew,
that.
we were all like, listen, let's not even put out good culture.
The 90s had something.
You didn't fuck with the blogosphere? The blog remixes?
Weirdly, like, actually in the clubs now, the early 2000s, like the Neptunes Timbaland era is actually more resurgent. Like you hear more of it, but we kind of conflate that a little bit with the 90s anyway, because there wasn't like a major line between it. But it's funny, but we still say 90s, or people say 90s parties or 90s R&B, like when you go to like a club in Brooklyn or wherever.
It'll still be like 50 Cent or something.
Yeah, we got nerdy quick anyway.
I think that's what our listeners want. Who knows?
Dan and I joked that after reading your book, God genetically engineered you to become a DJ.
Yeah.
And like cosmically.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, your parents are going to be music managers into music. And then, let's give his stepdad's going to be the lead guitarist of Foreigner. Okay. Right. Yeah. No, wait, not enough. His best friend is going to be Sean Lennon.
Right.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And then like, he's going to hang out with Michael Jackson when he's a kid.
Whoa. Chill.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry, God. Actually, no, maybe chill with the Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, obviously that's, I sort of recognized along the way, like while I was writing the book, and obviously before it, that these were all things that were slightly unusual for a kid to have. You know, some of the things I tried to downplay so much, because when you're a kid, you like just want to fit in. So like, obviously I never told anyone at school I had a sleepover with Michael Jackson, because you'd just be like, get punched in the face or whatever. Right. But yeah, they were fucking weird, and they definitely shaped me for whatever reason. I actually never really wanted to be a DJ though, or it wasn't something that occurred to me till much later. I wanted to play in bands, and I was like a guitar player and, you know, dreaming of being fucking Slash or at least Billy Duffy from The Cult. And I just was not very good, or I was okay, but all of my friends and everybody around me that was playing were just like shooting past me like crazy. And I was like, oh fuck, if that's what being a musician is, I probably need to find another lane in this. And then around the same time I sort of fell in love with like Tribe Called Quest and Pete Rock and these things. So it was like, yeah, that's what led me to being a DJ.
That's what stood out to me in your book is you would recognize like where you stood amongst your peers. So like when you were trying to play band and you mentioned that your friends just shredded that guitar so much more than you.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I got to find my own lane.
Yeah.
And then you DJ'd for many years and then you had this opportunity to start producing music and you sort of decided to go down that rabbit hole. I'm wondering like creatives, their inertia or their reluctance to pivot away from like their original loves. Is that what like holds them back from, I guess, finding quote unquote success?
I mean, I could imagine if you didn't know when to let go of something, yes. But then there's also something to be said for like some visionary who is just like completely undiscovered in their time and just believes so much in what they're doing. And now 100 years later, we herald them as a genius. So like,
Yeah, but how many people like just devoted their whole life to something and they just sucked ass?
Yeah,
Like,
a lot.
so we don't find those people.
Yeah.
That's most people.
And we don't know
They
them.
toil in mediocrity.
Yeah. I think I was really lucky to realize like when I was bumping against mediocrity, or maybe at least not against something that was amazing, to either pivot, bring in the right, I mean, that's how even now when I'm making a record, like it's like, okay, when I was making, say, the song Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, a song I did with Miley Cyrus, it was, you know, toiling over it for months and months, and there was just like something about the drums that just like wasn't great, and I just sent it to Jamie XX from the XX, was like, hey, do you have something you could throw on this? It's just like, I guess it's also knowing when to fucking outsource, or
Like knowing your limits.
Yeah, put
Is
your
that
ego
chill
aside.
in producer world, or is that seen as like Mark's failed, like I have to come in? Or do people also come to you like, oh, I need something that has
I
like
need some
amazing
trumpets.
horns? Yeah.
Well, yeah, no,
We need a trumpet
need a
guy.
tr- we need
Gotta
a
be a
tru-
trumpet guy.
the trumpet god. I think that I think it's pretty commonplace now, because you look at any record on Spotify, it's like 7 producers. Like it's like
Beyonce records have
even
like
too
50
much.
people on each
Yeah,
song.
it's and I understand it, because like Drake's working on a song and he decides like, oh, I prefer the hi-hat from Boy Wonder, but I love the bass line from FNZ, and it's like sort of, and it's his prerogative to make the best sounding fucking record that he can. But like, you're a producer and you're like psyched you worked on this song, and then you like, when you get the finished product, because that's how you mostly find out about these days, like 'cause shit comes out so quick, you're like, oh great, I'm splitting the royalties 73 ways. But
Yeah.
but it's so
And that might be my hi-hat in one of the 72 songs on the new Drake album.
Yeah. But I think also, yes, obviously when I came up in the 90s, you would see records that just say produced by DJ Premier, produced by Dr. Dre, produced by Q-Tip. And then we started to see this like an additional production and this thing, and now it's just like everybody sharing it. That's why I still definitely tip my hat to anyone when you like see a record and it's just like produced by one person. It's like, that doesn't happen as much anymore.
So when something is produced by Rick Rubin and then he gives all these interviews saying how he doesn't do anything, he just vibes.
Right.
Is he full of shit?
Like, is that line? Like, is that just like a pose? Does he actually do a lot? And this is like,
I think like producers have their invaluable sort of like superstar traits. So for Rick Rubin, I've always got the sense that it's impeccable taste. It's knowing how to like get right to the fucking heart of what an artist is trying to say and pushing them and then pulling the great performances out of them. I think there's somebody like Nigel Godrich, who did all like the Radiohead and Beck stuff, who's probably like, I get the sense he's an amazing engineer, knows to put the mics in the room, gets the best drum sound, and then also is like, we're all like slightly therapists and stuff in the booth. So like it's all, and then there's DJ Premier, who's just like, but when I think of him, he's just makes the fucking most extraordinary beats you've ever heard. So I feel like everybody has their like toolkit. I have probably a little bit of a bunch of those things.
is it true that part of the reason there are so many credits on some songs is because it's to preempt being sued, like post blurred lines?
There's probably that, like there's probably like things where now like a musicologist, I remember reading this story, I never asked Wes if this was the case, but that Major Lazer like had a musicologist like sitting in the room while they were making music, so they could be like kind of like flag something. I think now you just, if anyone says when they hear the song from the label like, oh, this reminds you a little bit of Malcolm McLaren, which is what happened on the Lizzo song About Damn Time, like you just kind of give the credit, because, you know, I'll say this, I'm blue in the face, I'm not bitter about it, but we definitely never ripped off the Gap Band for Uptown Funk, but they decided that we did it was right after Blurred Lines, and we're like, let's just settle this thing to keep it kosher. But yeah, I think that.
But I never understood. What does that mean to rip off a feel? Like,
I think in that.
Does everyone do all musicians secretly, not secretly, like think it's nonsense?
No, because I think there's times that we do borrow and do probably like are influenced by things or something. But in that case, they were saying that the Uptown Funk You Up, say Uptown Funk You Up, because it was a similar cadence to Oops Upside Your Head, say Oops Upside Your Head, which is like the same as George Clinton Funkadelic, up for the downstroke, everybody get up, like all these, it's just a pattern in
there are only so
music.
many.
Right.
But yeah, I think the reason that you also see like 17 writers on a song like I can't remember what the Beyonce song that people use as an example is, because she has a lyric quoting Soulja Boy at one point, and there were 4 writers on that Soulja Boy song. And then there's another part. I mean,
So it's like a Russian nesting doll.
yeah. I love the Tyler album Don't Tap the Glass, and there's that opening song Big Poe with Pharrell on it, and there's so many writers that's on it, and at one point it said like Alicia He Muhammad Q-Tip Fife, and I was like, I just listened to the song, I was like, I don't even hear a Tribe reference, but like he might have just said like one like can I kick it like whatever somewhere in the song, and that's like
Did you have to give Trinidad James money for the
Trinidad James we went to like right off the bat, because that was definitely he influenced us on while we were making it. It was like that was like went to him first, like thank you.
Yeah.
What can we do for you?
In stand-up too. Like Dane Cook accused Steve Byrne of stealing his essence.
Yeah.
Which is like
and then
being a rowdy bro.
Louis accused Dane Cook of stealing a joke.
Yeah.
But I feel like that stuff in stand-up is almost always
And who's the guy? Oh, go ahead.
It's always parallel thinking.
Yeah.
Like actually Rick Rubin talks about this with music, how there's just ideas in the air, in the ether, and it's like whoever's going to get there first, but that idea exists already. And I think stand-up is the same. You can just look now, like in a way, part of the late night monologists, part of the reason that they're not that relevant is because the big thing they were doing was doing Twitter. And now we see everyone does that.
Yeah.
All day is like little topical jokes, and there are only so many formulations and subject matters that everyone knows about.
Yeah, especially if it's current events thing. Like, and you think like half of these comedians or people are all influenced by like somebody above them, so their brains are all working the same way. Something comes along and an event happens. Of course, people are going to be like thinking about it at the same time. Who was the guy who used to have a sitcom though, who they really came for, who was like maybe just stealing jokes?
Carlos
left and right?
Mencia.
Yeah, that was the guy.
Famous.
Yeah.
That was the famous.
And then
one.
like Joe Rogan actually had the big video where he confronted him on stage.
Right.
The last good thing Joe Rogan did.
Right.
Yeah, for like, and that was clear. He like admitted it, and he went on like Mark Maron and talked about how he would maybe copy or influence, or also he would like bump comics. That was like his big
Robin
thing.
Williams did that too.
Yeah, Robin
he would just steal jokes,
and he would cut checks.
Yeah, when comics
Really?
confronted him, he would just post up in the back of the Comedy Store.
Don't worry if I write rhymes, I write checks.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
just, we won't be hearing that line in DJ sets anytime soon, but that was a great line. Yeah, Robin Williams is in my book.
Oh yeah, he came into your bedroom
Yeah,
as
and-
a kid.
And he took me in. I was a huge Mork and Mindy fan, and I think my mom like brought him back from the club and was like, "My son, like come upstairs," like, and I just remember. It's my earliest
Did you meet
memory.
people as kids, like at your parents' parties, and then later as adults, as you were an adult, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I remember." You were like,
Yeah, with Robin Williams
With Robin.
actually. Like I ran into him like 20 years later, towards the end of the book, and he was at Nobu, and I was a nobody, like as 24, like there's no way he knew who I was, and I wanted to go up to him, and I kind of like punked out, and then he started to walk to the bathroom past our table. I was like, all right, I'm not fucking giving up this chance. So I stopped him, and I was like, hey, Mr. Williams, like one of my earliest childhood memories is you tucking me, and there's no way you'll remember, but blah blah blah. It was. Then he goes, wait, your parents' house? It was the one on Circus Road, because even though my parents' house was a fucking party circus home, it was on the street called Circus Road. And he was like, yeah. He was like, your parents do some really wild parties. And he kind of walked off. But For knowing what Robin Williams probably saw in the 70s
Yeah,
and
he
80s, for him
was-
to remember my parents is like a wild place. Like that's kind of
Your parents were on
saying a
coke
lot.
all the time.
I know.
Um,
Your parents could not be more different from my parents. It's like what I kept reading when, especially the part where your mom would show up. It's like, oh, I do uppers, darling. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
your
yeah.
parents, we had wildly different childhoods.
Yeah. And it was cool to show my parents all the stuff and be like, are you guys cool with all the stuff in the book?
Yeah.
The only thing my dad asked me to change was like, I never listened to Hot Chocolate. That's his takeaway.
That's his only criticism of the book.
There's also a long chapter about stand-up comedy, or
Yeah.
chapter that opens kind of, I've never written anything before, but maybe just because 30 years of watching The Simpsons, like I did enjoy, there was a way to start a chapter that started somewhere else and you're kind of like didn't know where it was going. And then, The Simpsons always starts like 7 minutes. You're like, what the fuck is this episode about? Or there's this one chapter about this nightclub life, which I eventually get to because Dave Chappelle brought us there one night. We like crashed the club with him. It starts with being at the Cellar because a lot of my DJ friends, we all hung out with comedians. We were all kind of nerdy and insular and weirdly like a little neurotic, obsessed with, our art form, only hung with our friends. And I started to think like, what are the other similarities? Well, we all play clubs and we call it killing, and there's rhythm and timing. Maybe some of them are a stretch, whatever. I was just like kind of looking to do this thing, but it was before the Cellar and roast culture got to Comedy Central, so it was actually quite fun and it felt quite underground still.
Yeah. Now it's not at all. The Cellar is like, I mean, I get up at the Cellar and it's like Broadway in terms of the audiences.
Yeah.
But Brian and I both, we met doing stand-up around here like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What was the stand-up scene like? What was the underground stand-up scene for you guys then? What were the clubs?
It was at that point. It was a lot of like really shitty bars,
Okay.
like in Brooklyn,
Just doing, like, a
all
night.
over. Yeah,
Right.
and it was a lot of. I mean, but even before I read your chapter about stand up, I was like
Yeah.
already like noted like, oh, like so many similarities
Oh,
between
wow.
exactly how we came up. Like super late nights, you kind of need an audience. It's the only
Yeah.
art form.
Yeah.
It's similar to DJ where like it doesn't work on its. You
Yeah.
can create music, you can write a book on your own,
Yeah.
but stand up like you need that audience,
Of
that
course.
feedback.
I didn't think about that.
And it takes years to get good, to cut your teeth, and also just the same like shitty, horrible, poorly run venues
Yeah.
where the owner had no idea what he's doing, wouldn't pay you. Often, in stand up, it was a lot of people who started the club just so they could get time. I don't know if that
Right.
ever happened in DJing.
No, there were definitely some club owners that were just like, definitely felt like they knew music better than you would and make you tell you what to play.
Yeah. And adjusting too. That was the big thing you talked about. Like you as you got good, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I could play hip hop crowds. I could play the celebrity crowds.
Yeah.
I could play the model ones. And stand-up's also similar, where you go into a room, you listen to before what they're laughing at.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is a Park Slope thing. I can do maybe a little bit
Right.
more intellectual humor.
Yeah.
This is like this kind of a more touristy crowd. So I'll do broader family
Yeah.
stuff, sex. So it's also about adjusting and knowing the crowd.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you know about this new Bradley Cooper film that's
Yeah,
coming?
well,
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet,
Yeah.
but I was at the Cellar when
Oh, they were filming?
before even when
Ooh.
Will Arnett, Bradley was there with Will Arnett, and
Oh,
Will
yeah.
Arnett was just going up in character
Oh,
and not telling the audience,
Right,
which was
right.
really weird.
how did it go down? I mean, he has such an advantage because he's Will Arnett. So
Yeah, I think the audience, it went well, and people were like the people who didn't know who Will Arnett was were
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy's really going through these
Oh,
stories.
there
This is
were
very
people that didn't
confessional.
even recognize
But there
Will
are I'd
Arnett.
rather hear because he was introduced as the character,
Yeah.
and with no context.
Yeah.
And so I would hear people next to me be like, "Isn't that BoJack Horseman?" Like he's the most famous voice.
No, it's
Now,
crazy.
you can't hide it.
And was he just practicing, or were they filming?
No, they
those
weren't
nights?
filming. They
Okay.
were filming a few weeks later. So he was
Okay.
just getting on stage, and then Bradley was like watching, and then Amy Schumer was there, like kind of talking to them. Also, that was the weirdest night because then Madonna came and did stand up. Right.
Why did Madonna do stand up?
It's a great
We
question.
don't know that. Is she auditioning for Bradley?
Madonna
Well,
does stand up periodically. She wants to get into it.
How was she? I think she's friends with Chappelle, but like,
She's friends with Chappelle. She's friends with Amy. Amy
Right.
brought her up.
and was she good?
Was she good? I I talked to her a bunch. I met
editing this
Madonna that
out.
night, so I talked to her a bunch after. She has very amazing stories.
Yes.
Like she was talking about dating Warren Beatty and like whatever.
So
like,
it's just more like a story.
it's more yes, but she's not doesn't have the yeah, you know, you have to cut your teeth.
Is there not much self-deprecation, I imagine?
No, but I did meet her afterwards, and she's like, "How did I do?" And I was like, "You were great, Madonna."
You were Madonna.
You were Madonna. It doesn't matter. That's also stand-up is like. I think that's the other similarity is like it's such a low, at least I think stand-up is such a low art form that if you're famous, you just get in.
Yeah.
So like people who never did stand-up can get into a club and had like Jeremy Piven got Me Too'd, like kicked out of Hollywood, but like now he's doing stand-up.
Is he doing stand-up?
And
Wow.
we're like, well, and the stand-up people are like, he sucks at stand-up, but he sells tickets.
Yeah.
And so DJing is also similar. It was like
You got
people,
the Jersey,
the Housewives.
Jersey,
Yeah,
Jersey
Shore
Housewives, they're
guys.
DJing. It's
Well,
like there's no respect.
I just to give a ringing endorsement. I saw the movie. I saw like a unfinished cut, but the Will Arnett is absolutely incredible in the movie.
He's good?
It's so
Okay.
fucking good.
Because you work with Bradley on.
I worked with him on Stars Born, but we're just friendly, and he offered if I wanted to come see it, and it's fucking I think it's gonna be a New York Film Festival. Like I don't even know how he got it so fucking done so quickly. I feel like I saw a rough cut a month ago, but he's sort of just such a wild like freight train of getting shit done. I don't know. There's a better word for that. But yeah, no, Will Arnett, I feel like he's gonna. I mean, if he doesn't win everything, he's certainly gonna get nominated for everything. Like it's awesome. And then you know the story that it's based on. It's based on a real story of a stand-up.
No, I didn't know that.
I think it was and maybe the guy was English. Like maybe this happened in England, but he breaks up with his wife, but it's incredibly sad, but it's not like a tumultuous, like no one did anything wrong. It's just like after 10 years, it's just like this. It's really all happens in the beginning of the movie. And then he's living in some shitty like apartment bachelor pad, and he goes into this bar and he wants to get in, and the guy's like, you can't get in, it's $20. He's like, why'd you just let that girl in? He's like, well, she signed up. So he signs up, literally goes on just so he can get in and get a drink, and then he just starts to ramble about his life falling apart, and then slowly gets better. But I guess the fact that it's a true story.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to give more of the way than that.
No,
but
it looks good. I'm always comedians are always very sensitive about movies about comedy.
Yeah.
And shows like there was that show Crashing that I feel like was hard for comedians to watch because it was so not.
It was too close to home.
It was too close. It was just, and also we just know how unrealistic it is. And I'm sure stuff about DJing.
Yeah,
but
there was
also,
a Zac Efron movie where he was a DJ.
Like that was too hard for me to watch. It was too close. So I'm like, whoa, 128 BPM is the human heartbeat.
that makes you think.
If anything happens with this movie, we'll be able to right some wrongs with my movie. But I fucking, when I first moved into my place, that you posted the reel of, like, Louis C.K. lived next door, and that was he only lived next door for 2 years, then he moved, but that was just the coolest thing. I mean, even just seeing Louis around the village.
He came over a lot.
He didn't come over a lot, but
sorry, it was a rude joke.
He is.
No, he's hilarious.
He's just the best. His show, like, now that I have 2 little girls, like, I feel like that was like, even before I had girls, like that depiction of a single dad and daughters was just very, I thought it was very poignant. Anyway, so you guys did little clubs.
We did little clubs
around Brooklyn, but now you don't do stand up.
No, I do. I do get up at the Cellar.
So where do you? Oh, you're at Cellar.
Yeah, that's where I saw.
Okay.
And Brian saw this stand up.
I'm obviously not in the scene anymore. I apologize. No, but it was
Greg
such.
Giraldo. Is he still kicking it? Is he still making people laugh?
It was like I see the same people all the time at the clubs. There was this comedian named Godfrey who was actually in Zoolander.
He's still there. He does like great impressions.
Artie Fuqua.
Yeah. Still there.
Artie's still there.
Host?
Artie would. Okay, there was
the best host.
There was, I think Patrice. Like them was there a lot. Dave Attell, Jeff Ross. Attell was like, because that was the era when Attell had insomnia on the thing, and it was like you'd hang out with Attell and it would be like being in Insomnia.
Yeah,
you couldn't
as
believe
fucking
it.
nuts.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He's still like, he'll also go up last at like 1 a.m. now.
Yeah.
Because he just does, he like brings up a recorder. He'll just
Yeah.
like fuck around, but
Yeah.
he's just so, it's like stand up is too easy for him.
Yeah.
So he'll just have to find ways
To
to
make it-
fuck himself
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make it as challenging as possible.
I used to go down there, and I write about it in the book, but I would go down there because I just became such a junkie for that place. I would carry my crates like on the way to an early gig, and I remember coming down one time in the middle of an Attell set, and it was like, I obviously walked in and like one of his like crazy long like awkward pauses, so it was so loud, and here I am like this wire thin like 20-year-old gawky kid holding this big metal crate like a pizza delivery, and there's this like giant guy who have nothing to do with me, like this beefcake behind me, and Attell just looks up from the thing for a second and goes, "Oh look, it's the bomb squad and they brought their robot," and goes back to his joke, and it was both so mortifying and amazing. It was incredible. No, but it's still amazing comedians and stuff, but it felt like a kind of magic time because, like you said, the Cellar was not Broadway.
Yeah. Oh, actually, the one thing because I've always felt this, because we were talking a little bit about Will Arnett being a stand-up.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm anxious about watching is because whenever there's a stand-up in a movie,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to be great, like the jokes aren't funny.
Yeah.
And same with like an artist or a band, or like it's like this band is supposed to be a hit band, the
Yeah.
most famous band on the planet, but their music is
Oh, you mean in a movie? When
in a
it's
movie.
hit, yeah,
yeah,
of
like
course,
that thing
of
you
course.
do or whatever. But the Shallows was the one time where it's like, well, the movie became a hit in real life, so it's just like actually
Right.
believable. It's like
Right.
we're supposed to believe in the world of the movie that the song is a hit. If
Yeah.
it was a hit, then we would like it in real life, and
Right.
it actually
Right.
worked. So it's
Right.
like it made the movie way more believable.
It's the hardest thing to do, and I'm doing it right now for this show that we're developing about like a 70s blue-eyed soul band, which I'm really excited about. But it's like, yeah, you have to write this song that you would really truly believe was like this artist's biggest hit,
Yeah.
and like in the 70s. But
Mhm.
I also
Stereophonic did it well.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought they did it well. And I like the like kind of cavalier way they treated the music. Like sometimes the song would just end after verse and chorus, and you never heard how that song ended. I like
Yeah,
that
right.
was kind of. But I also noticed when we were doing like I didn't literally sit there like doing the stats, but when the Shallow thing was happening, I was like, oh yeah, there's something about this that if you see the song being written in the movie, it's like I think like 2 out of 5 like Oscar winner best songs are that, like if you think about Hard Out Here for a Pimp or the One in Once, because as the watcher you suddenly get vested in this thing because you feel like you're seeing it being made. So if it's good, you're even more sort of like emotionally bound to this to this thing. So like Shallow was, and I remember we wrote Shallow at the very beginning of when they were working on Star Is Born, and I was just like, oh, I hope this song makes it in the movie. And when I first saw the rough cut, and I was like, oh, they've literally written it into the story, like that parking lot scene when she's like starts to write. I'm like, whoa! And I remember like getting out of the like watching this like rough cut and calling my friends Andrew and Anthony who co-wrote the song with, and just being like, you can buy that Rolls. No, but I really was like, I was like, well, you guys are gonna be fucking psyched when you see what they did to our song in this film. It's crazy.
Really in it. We're not getting cut out.
And it wasn't originally a duet. It was just like Gaga singing the whole thing, and then Bradley Cooper, that was like, he just saw it. It's like, oh, this is my duet. So
That's crazy.
it's fucking cool. And he got a Grammy.
But to your point, there are intrinsic similarities between the communities. Like neurotic, you're just obsessed with this really specific
You
craft.
can only work at night.
Yeah, the communities are really insular, and I'm wondering, is there anyone that you came up with where you were kind of surprised that they made it so big
In comedy or in DJing?
in like DJing?
Or music, or
No,
That all
nobody.
makes sense.
Nobody was like, especially. I don't mean to be like old man about it, but there was nobody, especially in that era. It was very hard to fake it if you didn't, because you had to have the records, you had to have the skills. It was turntables. It was like there was no sync tempo button or anything. So like in general, you had to have your shit together and be pretty on point. But who made it? Like in a really lovely way, like someone from my era who was like kind of unsung was this DJ Ellie Escobar, who was like, while maybe Stretch and then myself and DJ Am were like the shiny names, he was more just like gigging DJ, like playing in shitty bottle service clubs, like playing music that he hated, and then 20 years later is now one of the biggest DJs in New York City and does giant parties at Knockdown where 4,000 kids come out. So that's not a surprise, but I mean, a nice surprise.
I guess now with TikTok, it's changed everything with stand-up.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think also similar to DJing, there's like shortcuts now in a way that there were not at all. Like in stand-up, if you wanted to get big and perform for people, you had to like grind and get better and be out there and network. And now you see people like headlining theaters who've never done, and they have no act,
right?
But they're huge on TikTok, so they can sell.
Who's the guy that does? Who I've only read articles, but I don't know anything about, and I even had to Google what it was. Yeah, he only does crowd work, and that's only like roasting the that's like Don Rickles. But that's
also like some of that's weird because I wonder if there's an equivalent. I think there is. I mean, just how TikTok and the algorithms have distorted all art forms, where no one is actually doing what they wanted to do.
Right.
So people didn't get into stand-up to do like crowd work clips that they posted, but because the algorithm needs to be fed constantly, you can't burn new material, and because just crowd work clips hit because it feels like a real moment, even if it's not funny, and so it just like led to this endless thing. And then
because your jokes, you're not going to post your jokes because you want to say those people coming to see them at crowd work is less
exactly. And then similarly, music, I feel like musicians always talk about now how the label says you have to make TikToks or you have to make a song where the chorus is in the beginning, the songs are shorter, like it's contorted. Even painters now, like you have to paint. It doesn't matter. Like, oh, you're good at making music. Well, actually, the real skill is TikTok.
Yeah,
and we're rewarding people who are good at.
Are you on TikTok?
I am, but I need a lot of help with it, and I'm not joking. Like,
are you on there to discover new artists at all?
No, I'm not on there. My dad is. Sometimes I go over there and like sitting on the couch and he's just like it is entertaining, and there are people that but for me, no, I'm
you don't.
I'm not snobby.
Don't.
I just don't. I don't have a lot of I barely have enough time to like get my work done, and then like now it's with the fucking.
You
family.
never feel good after.
No, I guess you don't feel good, but. I understand why it's important. I was hanging out with this like younger DJ, this kid SG Lewis. I don't know if you know. So the guest and he was just telling me, and he wasn't even complaining about it, but I just felt for him. And like younger artists I work with, like King Princess or something, and I'm just like, I would be tearing my hair out if I had to be an artist establishing myself in this era of it. And I know if you are that, you only know that, so you're figuring it out, but. It sucks. It really sucks.
Imagine Amy Winehouse
having to make TikToks.
Yeah. No.
It's so brutal.
Yeah. Like instead of the brat wall, there'd just be the black wall. People would showing up to promote Black to Black, just standing in front of this black wall.
Yeah. And also that I think is why it feels less cool. I think because it's something everyone does, and even the most successful artists, writers, whatever, still have to do TikTok, and that's what everyone's doing TikTok. Everyone posts on Instagram. I don't know, it cheapens.
I find like the person that I use on TikTok for like my barometer is Kyle MacLachlan. Are you familiar with his TikTok?
Yeah.
So he's just like obviously like quite an elegant like dude with obviously his stature is secure, and he's just going ham, and I'm like, because sometimes I do these things and I'm like. I have this really brilliant, clever person, Terry O'Connor, who helps me with all my TikToks and stuff, and he does like Charlie and like all this shit. He's got great taste, but he'll have me do some trend, and I'll be like, "Is this okay?" Because like I'm a 50-year-old man going to pick up my daughter from like the school thing, and like somebody saw me like doing like a teenage,
you have great skin,
doing this like. Teen trend, like but I understand that that's just where we are, and basically what you said, everybody's sort of doing it, and there's a line that I won't cross, but I'm always confused where it is.
It keeps shifting.
Yeah. It's like in the mud, so it's like what?
Do you still get nervous?
Oh, I'll that's like a given. Like I'll never not be in it, like before a gig or something.
Yeah, because I was talking to Dan about this where. And I got this from your book, like stand-up and DJing, you can never be 100% prepared for the next
of course
level up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're starting open mics, you get booked on a show, and then you do your late night set, and then you have your auditions. Like, you're always like so nervous and out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Is that still?
I think I'm always nervous because I feel like in some ways, like, obviously there's like the famous Bowie thing, like, or what, I don't believe anyone who's nervous before a show. And of course, like, stakes are high. You want to be great. If you're slightly a neurotic, anxious person already, then it's amplified. I mean, I used to DJ in this DJ duo with Zane Lowe, like, years and years ago in Ibiza, and they would call me Three Shits Ronson because, like, my stomach would just, like, go into this crazy thing, and I'd have to run to the bathroom at least 3 times, like, in the 10 minutes before the gig. I sorted that out a little. I think some of that was just cigarettes.
Heaven. What's the shit song that?
I don't know. Just, that's too long. I'm trying to get in and out of there. Very nervous for any gig, and especially now because I don't play, like, when I was playing 4 or 5 nights a week, I was almost like not on autopilot because you're still reading the room, but you could just go in and you're like an oiled machine, you know.
Yeah.
And
And now
you know what songs hit.
Yeah, you know what hits. You fucking look in any room. It's like I always think about like the Terminator, like when he scans the room, like it's like, and you just know exactly what to do. Now I'm always so fucking nervous. Usually, at least the first 2 or 3 songs, and then I'm kind of like find my place. But yeah.
Did you ever experiment with
Drugs? Yes.
Well, yes, drugs, but like the types of emotions that you wanted to tease out during your sets? And I'm asking this because yesterday night I read this interview with A.G. Cook.
Okay.
And he was saying how he really leans into awkwardness during his sets.
Okay.
And he was like really informed by Tim and Eric style comedy.
Yeah.
And the example they used was like he was playing a show in LA and the journalist said he was playing Teenage Dream, but then just drawing out the drop for a comically long time to a point where the EDM bros in the front row were starting to get really angry and upset.
Yeah.
And then rather than providing that release, I want to just lean into this pandemonium.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to play an a cappella version of Teenage Dream. And so he said like everyone just got really mad, but he's deriving some satisfaction from that.
I mean, that's a very like, that feels very on brand for someone like A.G. Cook. Like it's like an Andy Kaufman type thing where, and you can hear in the music and all that early PC music was very progressive. I admire that. Yeah. And then I also have to accept like that'll never be me. Like I used
you
to
want
get
people to have fun at your
yeah, and I just like
you don't want to torture your crowds.
When I was like lambasted like by Pitchfork and stuff when like my music first came out, and of course like, and there I was like friends and contemporaries with the people that were darlings of this thing, whether it was like the cool English indie bands or whoever.
Right.
When was that? When
this is like the early 2000s, mid to late 2000s, and like there was this one issue of The Enemy, which was this important English music publication where they had the coolest. They had their annual coolest people in music issue, and that year, I think number 1 was my friend Jamie Reynolds, who's in a band called the Claxons at the time. And then they ran a sidebar also, the least cool people in music, and I was number 1. And here I am staring at my best friend like on the page, or my really close friend, and I was just like
the yin and the yang.
Yeah. And of course there's this moment where you're like the grass is green and you like want to have all the fucking indie cred and shit like that, and then you're just like, but actually I remember this Ben Affleck interview, actually, not to compare myself to the great Ben Affleck, but I think because he came out chasing Amy and like came out of an indie thing, and then his next movie was Armageddon, and people were like, wait, what the fuck? Like we thought you were this new like whatever Ethan Hawke or indie darling or something.
That whole mindset is gone, by the way.
Totally gone. And he was like, I grew up going to see fucking blockbusters. I didn't like obsess over Kurosawa or whatever it was, you know. Sure. And I was like, yes, when I was a kid, I wasn't listening to blah blah blah. I was listening to Guns N' Roses and the Smiths, whatever. All I mean is just like I made my peace with like not being super cool cred. Like even Danger Mouse, who we came up around the same time, and it was like, you know, everything he does and did at that time was so. It was Beck. It was Gnarls. It was like it was just doing the music that he liked, but it was so obviously just the right best shit, and I'm kind of like jumping around doing whatever the fuck I'm doing. But
well, also you kind of followed the rise of Popism a little bit,
right?
Which was that shift like in the early 2000s from where there was that like rockist sneering against, you know, whatever, anything that was pop, and then there was kind of the reclamation of like, oh, actually pop music is worthy of merit, of consideration. Now, you know, I would say we may have gone the other way, where if you like don't say that the biggest artists in the world
Are the best
are
ever,
also the
right.
best who have ever done it and better than anything else.
But weirdly, the thing that made me break was obviously Back to Black, and that wasn't. I guess it was like, now it's hard to think of it as anything but a pop record because it's, you know, it's obviously like now sort of like in the canon, like, but that was like, I mean, I remember I think Pitchfork gave that like a 4, and like it just got like thrown into the retro ban or something, and it wasn't the. Yeah,
well, they're
I guess
doing well, Pitchfork, right now.
Right.
What was the Andrew WK album that they gave a 0, and then like 20 years later they gave a 10?
This is a 10.
This is a 10. They're like,
we got
oh, well.
it wrong.
Then actually you have no integrity. You're just like, that was not cool to like then, and now it's cool to like. And so
they
they
did that with Ariel Pink too. They're like, we liked it, but given recent opinions, we're gonna downgrade
he punched Nancy Pelosi in the face, so now we can't.
I love that haunted graffiti or whatever the
it's
fuck
still
that
so
was.
good.
It's
It's
incredible.
okay.
But
His politics are a little insane.
yeah, his politics are insane. But yeah, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But I
That's the
used to be
podcast, yeah.
jealous. Yeah, I used to be jealous of my friends that like had the cred, and then like, you know, like whatever the fuck. And I think like it's a combination of events, like you said, like those things don't really exist anymore. Like those kind of like lines, and then shit that just stays around for a while, like it gets reframed as like, oh, that was actually pretty good, or whatever the fuck.
Well,
Or we were right, that sucked.
I was talking to Brian where like this fucking Sum 41 video went viral on Twitter.
Yeah.
And people, but like in a nostalgic way. And then it's like, no, this sucked at the time.
Right,
It's
right.
still bad. Everyone hated this. And there is this thing where like actually out of the context, everything just becomes nostalgia
Yeah.
and pop and things that like people fucking hated and thought was corny as shit.
Yeah.
And that mattered. Like people really felt strongly that certain types of music were shit. Now you play at a wedding, and it's like, oh, it's so
Yeah, yeah,
fun.
of
Either
course.
it's nostalgia or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. Like
There's 2
I'm
records.
Blue Abadi Abadai can get sampled 20 times, and you know, and no one. And the kids who hear it now is like, oh, that's a fun song
Yeah.
from like 2000.
Wait, so you're saying that corny music just inevitably becomes cool with enough time?
I think all music, gets reframed.
Yeah, I think not all corny music, but a corny hit. Like,
Yeah, corny
right?
hit.
So like a hit, it just like gets this thing. And no, I remember there's 2 songs now, because I DJ with like a lot of younger DJs who are playing the 90s and 2000s shit. And like, there are a couple records that I hear them play that like, y'all know we never played this, right? Like, but there's and they were great pop songs, but they just weren't in a DJ set. There was Return of the Mac, which was something that was just no DJ I know ever played. And then there was also Montel Jordan, who we love for Get It On Tonight, but This Is How We Do It was kind of like a pop tune.
Yeah.
And now those
why?
are some
Because it
of
was
the
just
biggest
like,
ones.
if you played that, you would...
You just didn't play it. There was nothing really to play it with. It had like it was like kind of New Jack Swing groove, so it was like which is the same as Slick Rick Children's Story. Anyway, whatever it was, we just all played Get It On Tonight.
But Return of the Mac, or like, I feel like I'm young enough where I do not ever remember that not being like just a fun song.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of talk about this in your book, where like if you played the Tupac song, you would get like yoked off stage.
Yeah.
And like things actually mattered, like KRS-One, right? Kicked PM Dawn off the stage for singing.
Yeah.
And that's just what Drake does now. That's
right.
everyone like,
Right.
and whatever. Kurt Cobain shat on Guns N' Roses. Like they felt like
And
there were
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, and Pearl Jam. And there felt like there were stakes and things like actually mattered, like music mattered beyond just like a taste. It mattered to your being and your personality. And that seems, I don't know, kind of gone.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like one of the most famous stories in music in the last decade was the Kendrick Drake thing, but like that was really just between the two of them. Like you didn't have that crazy like loyalty. Like you obviously still had people going to Drake shows who love Kendrick and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's like, how could you, if you're going to Kendrick SZA's show, if you love SZA, there's a good chance you love a bunch of Drake songs too.
And I feel like if you played Kendrick and Drake back to back at a set, no one would bat an eye.
Yeah. I mean, I did think I did open for Mustard recently, and I don't know if he was in the building because there was like a DJ in between us, but I was like, am I going to play Drake? Like, is that going to be looked at as like taking shots or something? But there was this era and obviously me as a fucking privileged Jewish kid from the Upper West Side, like thinking that I'm embroiled in any sort of rap beef does sound ridiculous. But there was a time when I was DJing in clubs in the 90s, and it was Biggie, and there was, people that were Mobb Deep and Capone and Noriega, like at least adjacent in the clubs where I would DJ. So I wouldn't have dreamed of playing a West Coast record as well. And, you'd have like, it did feel more tribal in some weird way, even for someone like me.
But I feel like it's the same with sports. Like people don't even have loyalties to teams now. It's like you follow LeBron.
Well, you follow a player.
So I feel like that any kind of like tribal loyalty is gone, and boundaries between like high and low and integrity is completely obliterated. I don't even think like there's a dude on TikTok who had like 8 billion streams of his song, literally 8 billion. And he was like, oh yeah, no one knows my name. No one knows who I am. So like music is detached from artists.
Right.
So obviously it's also detached from any sort of integrity and meaning that you would fight over or care about.
There are artists that still exist with integrity. Their discoverability just isn't there.
Yeah.
Like I would say like Nico Jar is one where,
right.
But no one's like forming their identity around them in the same way that maybe people would around like goth music or grunge or whatever.
Also, in that era before streaming, you couldn't afford to listen to everything. You could afford probably like 2 cassettes or a CD a week or something. So like you did have to sort of like your lines and the things that if you liked goth, you're probably most likely buying goth shit. Like it wasn't as easy to like jump around everything. I don't know if that has anything to do with what we were just
too
talking
poor
about.
to have Catholic taste, actually.
Yeah.
What do you make of these new forms of clubbing? Daybreaker raves or soft clubbing is big now. Where people
matcha. Would you DJ a matcha latte rave?
Activation.
I mean, I'm so fucking out of it now that I only read about these things like when there's an article in the New York Times. I'm like, oh, clubs. Like obviously I'm still DJing a place like Gabby's in Brooklyn and stuff, but yeah, I don't like when I saw that article about all the clubs closing because kids don't drink. And friends of mine that are still DJing, they're in the clubs, like they tell me shit like, I mean, this is now 3 or 4 years old, but like, in the 90s you would just leave your house and you might go to a club. If you were lucky enough, you had a flyer so you could pay half admission at the door. It's like every single thing is ticketed way ahead of time, even a regular nightclub night. Like I'm not talking about a concert, just a night at elsewhere. Like kids are buying their tickets to see a certain DJ weeks and weeks in advance. The day raves are probably age appropriate for me. I don't have.
You bring your daughter to.
Have you guys been to anything? Or there's
no. I mean, you go to like an event on a rooftop bar and there's like a DJ there, but.
I have been invited to those, morning breaker yoga raves.
Because you're LA coded. You have like.
Is that
health.
for people that are healthy, or is it just for like older people whose clubbing days are behind them, or a little both?
It's a little of both, but I think it leans more Brentwood Country Mart,
right?
Maha. I'm gonna optimize and get my serotonin levels up before I start my day and crush it.
Yeah, they have to like launder their hedonism through the language of like self-actualization.
Yeah,
it's like when people go to Burning Man, they just like talk about they're experiencing themselves and understanding their deeper inner child,
right.
And it's like, well, you just want to get fucked
drugs.
up. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's good, actually.
Yeah.
But you don't have to come up with a story to do that.
I've never been to Burning Man. I don't think I would like it.
So when you DJ with these younger DJs, do you see them breaking rules that for your class coming up you were like, we wouldn't have done this?
I mentioned this once recently, but I was DJing. It's happened twice actually in the past year. I was DJing and the DJ before me played Valerie. And I know that it was like meant as like this sort of like tip of the hat, but I was like, are you fucking insane? Like you're playing my biggest record, like that's my closer. Like, and I kind of just like, I don't like to get too worked up about it because it's just like, all right, I'm a pro. Like you play any record you want, I'm still going to get on and kill it. But those were the things like,
you beat the shit out of him. You're never working this town again, kid.
And I remember like seeing people get, like you said, yoked up. I remember this one DJ was like this kind of crunchy white kid who was like playing this trip hop remix. Remember that there was a thing called Magic? It was like a clothing convention in Vegas. It would happen once a year.
Yeah.
So it'd have like big parties, and Run DMC was the headliner, and they got some like pretty lights, but not pretty lights, like down tempo trip hop DJ who was playing this trip hoppy remix of Run DMC. It's tricky that he might have even made himself, or the song was almost indistinguishable from the original Run DMC one. But I started to hear the vocal. I was like, oh my God, this kid doesn't know what's about to happen to him. And like Run DMC's tour manager just like ran on the stage and just like yoked him up like Showtime at the Apollo, like the Sandman, like pulled him off stage. And I was like, this kid is just like being traumatized, and what an idiot.
Doesn't even know what he did.
He doesn't even know what he did. But like, of course, there were, I guess, coming up in that scene, certainly because it was like the New York hip hop scene, I think the rules were a little more ingrained because they could get you in trouble or maybe thrown up against a wall or something. So like there was a little bit more of respect, but I'm sure it was like that in the house scene too.
Well, I was thinking you kind of talk about how you found your style when you were kind of combining some of your classic rock influences with the hip hop, and you like the big kind of moment in your book is when you're like, yo, can I play AC/DC at this hip hop club, which was never done before. And then I feel like that led to like this, and was that a precursor to like the mashup culture of the early 2000s?
I mean, a lot of the mashup stuff came from the UK, like those Freelance, Hellraiser, those early ones that were really famous, like putting like Eminem over Depeche Mode and Christina Aguilera over the Strokes. So that was probably happening independent of it. But yes, like, of course, a song like Back in Black is in the DNA of hip hop. Like Rick Rubin had sampled it. It was a Boogie Down production song. But nobody played it in the clubs, at least for a good 10 years when I sort of dropped it. And then this DJ, incredible DJ AM on the West Coast, was starting to do a similar thing. But yeah, I'll take fucking credit for it. Like it was not something that was done, and it reverberated because it was very different, and then people globbed onto it. And then it got to a point where you would go into the club and you would start to hear songs like Under the Bridge. Like it became like a thing where it was like, okay, there's certain songs I feel like belong in the club. And listen, like Chili Peppers is one of my first favorite fucking bands. They're funky as hell. Just particularly Under the Bridge, when you're playing that in a club, you're doing that because you're playing to a certain clientele and you want a big sing-along. And it's no longer like you're not playing this because it's sort of like in the DNA of hip-hop. So there was like this sort of moment where it just, I just like, but then again, like AM, when he did it too, he would just do it so fresh because he had these insane skills. So he'd be like chopping up Lynyrd Skynyrd, transforming it over some other beat, and like Kid Capri and all these other legends around the booth just with their jaws on the floor. So he got away with a lot of shit because he was so good. But yes, I was sort of the first to do that in this downtown thing that then it became quite fatty, and then it became open format.
Wow, you've inspired the soundtrack of many
your worst nights out.
Just frat parties,
just girl talk, girl talk.
Yeah,
which was, I feel like that is a mode that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why that died out, but I feel like the exact years when we were in college, dubstep and mashups were the biggest thing, and then they were completely gone.
It was like the blogosphere became this arms race of like, who can mix the knife heartbeats with this random rap song.
And Dan Deacon was also quite big.
Dan
like
Deacon,
he did his own music, but that was,
I saw Dan Deacon at the Polish church in Greenpoint.
I would always be so jealous because I'd play like McCarran pool parties or something, and I would be DJing and playing my whatever, essentially like kind of pop version breakbeaty things. And I guess what I'm grateful for, but was probably like a little like salty, not salty at the time, but just like, was that like I was never anybody that had like, it was white hot at a specific moment where it was the coolest, biggest thing. So I never had that moment of like what Dan Deacon Girl Talk they had, where like I would watch them go on and suddenly like everyone would swarm in from the outside. It was the thing. I was just always there doing my thing, doing solid set. Like obviously now I'm grateful for whatever the fuck I have, but I never had that. Even in the UK, the Enemy, all that kind of shit, I never had a thing where I was, remember the Black Kids, like thing where you're just like, you are the absolute hottest ticket. But that's also an extremely hard thing to maintain, as we've seen. So
yeah, but do you think that's why you've actually had a longer career and you've just continued to work and people still want to work with you. I feel like anytime you get too big, there's a certain point where all of culture is like, all right, let's get the fuck away from me. And if you never reach that point, then maybe you can kind of sustain it in a more...
Yeah, or maybe like that was always my thing, to just be like a record producer behind the scenes a little more and not have to be the front person, not have this like blazing streak of like it factor or coolness in this thing, but just like stay doing my shit and just have, be around. I don't know, whatever it is. It's just like, you have all these like, it's hard for me to be bitter about anything because I'm so grateful that I've been able to keep making music for 25 years or whatever. So everything else sounds like garbage, sour grapes, and I'm fine with any of it at this point.
I feel like producer is a good level of fame too. Producer and like movie director maybe, where like everyone in the industry knows and respects you, and like your peers
get a table at a restaurant.
You get a table at a restaurant, but like, and the people who know what you look like on the street are probably cool, or like they're probably people who know what's up, and they're not like saw you on in a random movie in TikTok.
That's the perfect level of fame. Or recognition, and like to be walking around this week and like have the odd person come by and be like, love the book, like awkwardly as you're like walking past, and like that's the coolest.
My first introduction to you was I was interning at SNL and you performed with Bruno Mars.
Oh yeah.
And did Uptown Funk.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
That was a highlight. That was one of my absolute career highlights, because on that song we had some pretty wild things. Like we were performed at the Super Bowl with Coldplay, which for many people that would be the apex, but really being on SNL, being a lifelong fucking comedy junkie and like just SNL groupie, like the first time I even remember, like actually the first time it really sunk in was the old cable guy that used to use on Time Warner Cable, and you could like skip ahead 2 weeks and it said SNL, like whatever the fucking date was, November, blah, blah, blah. Cameron Diaz, musical guest, Bruno Mars and Mark Ronson, even just seeing it on the fucking cable screensaver, whatever the hell that shit is. That was absolutely, that's maybe one of my most treasured moments.
And you got 2 wedding songs.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It used to just be 1 wedding song here and then 2 in England, but now Valerie's kind of become a wedding song here too.
I feel like that's the sneaky secret to
longevity.
Yeah, is getting a wedding song.
Yeah,
because I feel like,
and then a divorce song. Nothing breaks like a heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was for my divorce. Yeah.
Just because like I don't know, like Mr. Brightside is whatever at every single wedding now, and I'd say, the Killers are a big band, but they're definitely not. They're not Coldplay. They're not one of the big bands of the era. But they cemented their place in the lineup. All these, whatever, Twist and Shout, all these bands from the '60s that maybe younger people would have been forgotten. But they're like, no, I got a chokehold on the wedding song.
They would. I remember reading an article again, probably in the Times, about how that is sort of like the don't stop believing of a certain generation, like that, and I didn't even realize when it crossed the Rubicon, because it was always a great song, and I remember it being anthemic, and especially in England, because where they were even bigger, like the headline Glastonbury, that was a big song. But I didn't realize, because I'm fucking 50 years old, like how important that song was. It's crazy.
Can you figure out like a reason why certain bands do take off in the US and some don't?
I don't know. I know that the Killers, like, there's something, obviously the Killers were doing an indie rock thing that was quite English in its DNA, like kind of nodded to Duran and Depeche and whatever else, The Cure. But I don't know. I think they went over there and they just, like, the people that went over there early, touring the shit out of it, working it. I mean, I remember when the Strokes, there are bands that ended up being just as big here, like the Strokes, or even going back to Jimi Hendrix, that like were much bigger in England first. Weirdly, Mexico is like another place for indie rock. Like,
I love Interpol is one of my favorite bands, but they're like huge in Mexico. And it's always felt so random to me.
I remember that was the first place that Kevin Parker from Tame Impala told me that like he went and felt like a Beatle. Like there's something about. Yeah, they love...
Big in Japan, I guess, is that.
Yeah, big, like, dark, indie, moody, indie rock. And then, yeah, that was weird with my first record. I made this hip hop record in like 2003 that came out. The single off it was this song, Ooh Wee, with Ghostface and Nate Dogg. I don't know if you know it, but it came out and it sold 7 copies here. And it became like this hit in England. And it was so weird for me because at this point I've been DJing in New York for 10 years. All I wanted to be was probably big in New York. I wanted to walk down the street like and see like I do now, my book in the window at McNally Jackson. Like all you care about is how it works and around it and how it's respected by the people you see every day. And it really didn't do anything here. And then the fact it blew up in England, I was like, oh, maybe the fact that I'm English, I've been like ignoring the whole time is why my music might be embraced more. There's some quirky thing in my sensibility that's just like connecting here in a way. So I started going to England a lot more, and that's how I met Lily Allen and Amy, and that was kind of what saved my career. But yeah, it's weird how England's just amazing because it's such a small country. It's different now, obviously, because everything's so global. But back then, it was like one main radio station, BBC Radio 1, that went through the whole country. And if somebody got excited about it, it could catch fire the whole place.
Yeah. What are you listening to? Anything you're amped about?
I don't fucking... right now, I'm not really listening to any new shit. I'm listening to, well, a lot of whatever my 2-year-old daughter's listening to, which kind of runs from like Chapel Roan to Tribe Called Quest Scenario.
Oh, okay.
And she has her little record player with her 45. Yeah. No, there'll be some Baby Shark for sure. She's right now obsessed with this Big Bill Brunsey, like this famous blues guitarist from like the 30s or 40s. His version of The Glory of Love. You know that song, like, you gotta take a little, break a little.
Wow. So whatever like engineering you had from music proclivity growing up, you're gonna like I'm
giving
distill it.
Her all my fucking baggage. Yeah, I'm trying not to at all, and I'm just like let her listen. She has a little radio, listen to whatever she wants. But I'm sure
the fidelity is off on
course,
Spotify.
Of course.
I mean,
How
I saw the
could she-
soundbite of yours that you said you can't listen to music while you have sex because you're thinking too much about what kind of mic that
they
they're
use
using.
on the snare drum. Yeah.
That's right. I can't listen to stand-up comedy while I have sex either. It's so crazy. Same thing.
You're like, it's hack.
Yeah, predictable misdirection
from a mile away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just, obviously like the last thing I want to do is like feel like I'm feeding her like what she should be into. But I mean, she sees me half of the day like putting on records, probably with some kind of sense of like ceremony, like, oh, that's cool, I want to do that. So
well, it's an exciting ritual.
Yeah.
And even in the book, you kind of talk about, I thought that was a really nice moment where you're like, how you're planning out, you know, your sets, and you're really considering, and you're thinking about what do I need to bring.
Yeah.
And then the whole process of moving the 3 crates into the elevator, that felt very cinematic too, like an After Hours kind of thing, which I think could be
the movie After Hours.
Yeah, the movie After
I love
Hours.
That.
Yeah, well, I guess Griffin
movie.
Dunn blurbed the book,
Yeah.
but I really loved the like tactile element of you know, also of you know, switching back and forth between records and beat matching, and how you got into it in a way that felt like it was almost spiritual.
Yeah.
And I know, yeah, that certainly feels like a relationship that we've all lost in a sense, that makes it deeper, where something actually feels very special because of our physical bond to it, and it's smell, and like whatever you were going to A&R people to try to get like promo records to play, and you spend your whole day there, and I'm sure when the record you have like felt way more special.
Yeah, you had to like sit in a lobby for 2 hours and beg for like a copy of a Biggie 12-inch. So yeah, it did have this thing, and I think that was partly actually what, and I wrote it in the acknowledgments, but that was partly what did inspire me to write this book as well. There's an amazing DJ named Blue Gems who I came out with. He used to play at Le Ban all the time, and he passed away in 2019, and Le Ban was throwing a party on his birthday, and I obviously was sitting around thinking about him and all these memories, and I have all these records, because at that time I wasn't playing vinyl, all these records on the shelf that I hadn't pulled down in some of them like 20 years, where you're like, what the fuck am I still holding on to this for? But I looked at one and I just saw like this very specific like Kelly Green color on the spine, and I all I had to do was just glance and be like, oh yeah, that's Trends of Culture. It was like an indie hip hop 12-inch I bought in 1994 at Rock and Soul, where I remembered giving my $5 over, and I was like, I'm not gonna have those memories about an MP3 on my hard drive
I remember the first time the Spotify algorithm randomly played
Totally.
a track by an AI band. Have you read this, Brian? The Disappearance of Ritual of Byung-Chul Han.
Oh yeah, the contemporary philosopher.
Yeah,
No.
the Korean philosopher.
Have
you read it?
No, is it modern?
Yeah,
is
yeah. He wrote it in
current.
2020. But he talks specifically about how we've lost rituals
Right.
as a culture through and everything's just faster through the internet and speed, and we're unmoored because he says that like rituals are to time what a home is to space.
Right.
You know, it
It's
grounds
how you
us
kind of how you
completely, and it
engage.
connects us to things and to each other, and it demarcates time. And now all we're being given is, he talks about how we're just being given emotions over and over, through, as opposed to like things and objects. And the phones just give us endless emotion, and we don't know what's coming next too. So rituals are predictable. You know, so we can expect something, and maybe it's a slight deviation, and that's exciting. But with algorithms, there's just a randomness that nothing is connected to anything else.
It's a terrible analogy, really, but as soon as you said that, my mind jumped to like when you drink orange juice without concentrate, it's the pulp which dissolves the sugar. So if you just drink the orange juice without any of the pulp or anything in it, it's just pure sugar, and it's not great for you, but you need the pulp and the other things in it to so you digest the sugar.
The friction.
That's a terrible analogy, but no, I totally feel
Do you
what
have
you're
diabetes?
saying.
I mean, are there any rituals that you've preserved?
Weirdly, I actually didn't really, until the pandemic happened, I found myself at home a lot. I didn't really care about playing records at home. It was so much like what I had done in my work life for so long, and I actually didn't really enjoy listening to music at home, probably because I was just burnt on it from my ears need a rest, and then put records and all that stuff. So that has become a nice ritual. I mean, I have plenty of rituals, like, I don't know, fucking making coffee in the morning and these things, but yes, the phone is just like everything's, all the instant gratification, the quick everything is just like, our brains are overloaded. We can't handle that much emotion and stimulation at the speed that we get it now.
Are you going to be one of those parents who prohibits your children from technology?
I mean, I think this generation, any kids who's been born since the Anxious Generation book, a little bit is probably, I think, gonna be in that space. I think you can't. You just know it's like you feel terrible for this last 15 years for the kids that came out because no one knew.
We did.
yeah.
Just crack babies, basically.
Right now, and I have, listen, like, this is not a judgment on anyone. Like, I have tons of friends kids who watch the iPad and all that shit, and raising kids is fucking impossible. And anything you can give them to distract them to give yourself 10 minutes a piece is great. But right now, like, I'm just so grateful that my daughter, because she has like this little turntable in 45s, can literally just spend like 2 hours, and sometimes she's just like sort of compulsively like taking off a record and putting it back on, like some Snow White story time shit. And then she'll discover like the weirdest records, because I'll just give her my 45s. I don't mind if they get fucked up. So she'll be like obsessed with Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown, or like a Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders, and she's just like listening to it, and I'm like,
it's like good taste.
However long I can
Your
keep
daughter's
you
destined to become the coolest NYU student.
Right.
Yeah, 15 years.
She'll be the Romy Mars of her time.
Yeah, we'll have to fight.
Well, Mark, thanks for doing the pod.
Thanks so much. It was fun. I hope I wasn't too boring for you.
No, you're great.
You're just the right amount of boring.
Just right amount of boring for our pod. Amazing.
And I guess everyone buy
Night People.
Buy Night People.
Yeah.
Watch
Night
the
People.
movie A Star Is Born.
Watch the
Barbie.
movie.
Have you heard about Barbie?
Watch his Star Is Born, but listen to the Barbie soundtrack at the same time. And take mushrooms.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
Mark. Listeners, if you made it this far, thanks for your support. And yeah, you know where to find us online. Okay. See you next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Okay, that was Middlebrow.